Welcome to your Daily 5 for Thursday, November 7th, 2024. As many people listening are probably already well aware, there was just a U.S. presidential election in which Donald Trump was reelected to a second term. Now, before I go too far, this is not really meant as a political 5 or even a partisan one, because you could apply these general things I'm about to say to any position, any person in a position of power to influence how a company operates. So these are particular to Trump because these are the statements that were made, but they could really apply to just about anybody. So in the wake of the election results, many different people, celebrities, companies sent congratulatory messages to Donald Trump in the public sphere, but the ones that really seemed to get a lot of people upset were the ones coming from the big tech companies. A, because they all seemed to use the exact same language, which would indicate they were all sharing the same statements, but also because many of these same companies were far less enthusiastic the first time around when Trump was elected, and now suddenly they're all talking about how great it is that he won and that they're looking forward to working with him. Now, for some of these companies that were already aligned with Trump, it makes sense, but there were others that seemed much more ideologically opposed that are now suddenly talking in much nicer tones. And of course, some of this is because the general populist sentiments towards big tech companies have certainly changed since the last time Trump was in office, but also because, and this again, it's not specific to Trump, but I'm using this as the example because he's the one in the headlines for it right now. There are people who you are aware will hold grudges against those who say anything negative about them. And if those people are in a position to make your ability to operate as a business more difficult or impossible, then you would be a fool not to at least publicly say the right things to seem like you are on this person's good side. The other side of this is a repeat of things I've said many, many times before, which is people seem to look, because I've read descriptions where people say, oh, this company is bootlicking scum and far worse terms. Talking about a company as if it's a person. Companies are not people. They don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about their own employees. Honestly, the only thing a company, if it could care about anything, would care about is the continued generation of profits. And in that particular pursuit, it does not make sense to do anything other than to cater to somebody who obviously wants to hear affirming things towards themselves. Trump has demonstrated, as many other politicians have, so again, I don't want to make this too specific because it really isn't just Trump in this case, but he's the one in the headlines. Trump has demonstrated that if he doesn't hear the right things from people, he at least has said that there will be some kind of punishment for it, that they will have to atone for not being loyal enough. And as somebody who is now in the position of being president, or will be, I should say, in just a few months, will be the president of the United States, who has been granted essentially complete immunity for anything he may do as long as he is in that office, then you would have to be very, very reckless, might be the best word, to do anything as the public relations end of a company than to kiss the ring. You really almost have to do that because anything else is, now, of course, you could bet that maybe in the many things that a president has to address and, in the time from when you make certain statements or don't until things are being actually done and carried out, that maybe it would not be a top priority. That's a bet you could make, but it's certainly not a safe bet. The safe bet is to say things nicely and at least put on the air of being willing to work with somebody if you know that that will get you a benefit. So again, I don't know why people get so upset about this. It shouldn't be all that surprising. I'm actually surprised that they didn't say these types of things in the first run-up. But I really think most of the people in charge probably thought that Trump would not come back for a second term. And so they basically took a gamble the first time. Well, guess what? He's coming back into office, so they're not going to take that gamble again. And whatever your personal leanings may be, I really don't think any sensible person can fault a company for deciding that it is not worth the risk of alienating a person who will be in one of the most powerful positions on the planet, especially when there's already, again, a lot of unpopular sentiment directed towards you as a company. So am I surprised that Amazon, Apple, Facebook, all these different companies are saying that they're happy that Trump's back in office and they're willing to work with him? No, I'm not surprised a bit because it only makes sense. And again, this is how companies operate. At some point, people should start to figure that out. That's the world. Later.